right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Guitar Gear Locker. My name is Alex Books, and this is my co-host Roger Sutherland. And I'm happy to announce one of my favorite guitar players. Finally get him on the show. This is episode 14, and I'd like to introduce the legendary David Austin of Nasty Savage, and as well as his new project DNA. And
Hello,
thanks for
everybody.
coming on, David. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the
Yeah.
nice little compliment at the beginning there. That was nice of you to say.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, you were a huge influence on my guitar playing since 1985, since the first record came out. And it's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So yeah, let me I guess start off with if you can take me back to how you got into music and what led you to pick up the guitar.
Well, my dad played and always had a guitar around, which I was lucky if I was ever able to touch it because he was that way about it. But he was a country guy. He was into like George Jones and Merle Haggard and all that kind of stuff. That's what
Nice.
he was in. He was in a couple of bands actually before I was even born. He was in a couple of like bands in North Carolina. So that's kind of where it all started from. And my uncle plays guitar as well. May he rest in peace. And he was always letting me pick up his guitar, and he was showing me how to do things like kind of Spanish influence stuff. So he was showing me ways to where I was, very young. I barely knew 3 chords when I was probably 12 or 13 years old. That's when I kind of started to progress just a little bit. But he kind of taught me how to think out of the box, and he got me into like Al Di Meola and all these people that I'd never heard of when I was super young. So I started listening to, and my brother Alan plays guitar too. He's kind of a straightforward guy. He doesn't do anything fancy or anything, but he's a pretty good guitar player. So he had friends that came over and jammed. So I was kind of always around that, especially when I was like 13, 14 years old is when I was really starting to be, around it a lot. So that's where that kind of started from. And I was listening to, Al Di Meola in 77, listening to Love Gun one minute, then Al Di Meola the next. So, I always had like a wide variety of stuff that I listened to always, I've never, even to this day, I can listen to anything from Cannibal Corpse to, Celine Dion or something if I want to, what kind of movie. And everything in between, 80s pop, Tears for Fears, stuff like that, I would never admit that in 88 that I listened to it, but now I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore.
Yeah, same for me. It's always been a wide variety of music, and and I think that shapes you as a guitar player too, is all these different influences.
Oh yeah.
So if you can, take me back a little bit to, how Nasty Savage started and, what led up to the first record.
Yeah, Nasty Savage actually started in probably late 82. That was before Curtis Beeson and I joined. So it was Ben, Fred, Ron, and Craig Huffman, may he rest in peace, was the original drummer for Nasty Savage. And they were just having some issues with him, just with drums and maybe a little drinking too much, which I don't even know how that was even a thing back then. Everybody drank too much. But so they replaced him, and I was in another band called Gangster at the time, and we did like one song that was called Vigilante that ended up being a Nasty Savage song, but it was never recorded. I ended up getting parts out of it and using it in like Welcome Wagon, and I'd use some other parts in another song. But anyway, besides that, so we were at a party and they asked me, would I be interested in, adding me to the band as another guitar player. And I already had like The Morgue written, I already had that song Vigilante. And so I already had a couple of originals to bring to them. And I went to the rehearsal, to practice one night, and I fit right in. Curtis joined the same week that I did. So that's kind of really how I don't want to say the real Nasty Savage, because I don't want to take away from the four that started it all, but that's the recording Nasty Savage is where it all started. I think my first show was in March of like '83 was my first show. And then, and then we went from Cow Pastures to Ruby's Pub to, the London Victory Club, and doing all these shows around Tampa, not really going anywhere further than that at that point. And then when we started, when we got our money together to record the demo, after the demo was out, Ronnie was like a master tape trader, a master, anything to do with the underground. He was one of the kings of it. That's no exaggeration. I mean, he knew everybody. So he sent that demo tape to every person that he could think of on the planet, every fanzine, record label. So we ended, a radio station called KISS in San Antonio got a hold of it, and they started giving us airplay, the demo. I mean, I'm talking about regular, radio right in the, in the middle of the daytime they were playing. It wasn't like something that was on at like 1 o'clock in the morning or anything. We were actually there. There was I think one time they played all 4 songs right in a row on the radio show. So we started getting a following in Houston and San Antonio and Austin, that area. So after we recorded the demo, we all drove out there in our broken down vans and putting oil in it, every 100 miles, because it was leaking so bad it was spraying on the car behind us. So we made it out there though. We ended up doing those shows right there, and then we did some stuff on KPFT in Houston, which was kind of what was they did a lot of underground metal and stuff like that on that show. And then we went to the station in San Antonio, did like some promos and did like a live interview. And so that demo tape started circulating big time. We ended up selling like 5,000 of those tapes.
Wow.
And so Mellow Blade, they noticed that. So that's when they sent us a letter and offered us a record deal to sign with those guys. And
nice.
And like I want to say like November of '84 or something like that. And then we ended up going to the studio like in '85.
Right. Yeah, so that demo tape you're speaking of, that's the one with like Witches Sabbath and
Witches Sabbath, Grand Angel, Triple X, and Savage Desire.
Triple X, yeah. And if I remember correctly, wasn't Triple X that the demo version on the Metal Massacre? Yeah. I think that's probably the first time I heard you guys.
That was the demo version, and we did another version on Indulgence, got a little bit faster.
Yeah, of course.
The original. Yeah.
So I'm curious about the first record and what you were using, because I remember speaking of fanzines and stuff, and seeing pictures of Metal Forces and stuff. You used to play this. It looked like a '70s Fender Strat, like a cream color one.
That was on the first album. That's what I used. I used a '72 Stratocaster, and it had and I put a Floyd Rose on it. Right, like it was kind of like Floyd Rose was just starting to kind of. People were starting to use them. I had, somebody rawled out the Stratocaster so you could fit it in there. It ended up working out pretty good. That and just, it was, and I had Seymour Duncan on it. And basically it was a Boss, one of the orange Boss distortion pedals. That and straight into a JCM 800 and at full volume. I mean, if you know how it is when you're in the studio. If you're mic'd up and amp, you crank it up. You go in there, you can feel the wind coming off of that thing. So, you're knock your head off. So I'd do that. That's exactly that was the setup. It was just basic, And like if there's any delays or anything like that, then we would like on solos or whatever to kind of decorate the solos a little bit. Then Jim would We'd work on the delays and the reverb. There wasn't, you didn't have everything at your little fingertips like you do now,
Yeah.
I got a computer in the other room in there it's got everything under the sun in it as far as plugins. Like the DNA stuff that I'm doing right now, all the rhythm guitar and solos, I did that right in my bedroom,
Yeah.
You know how it is.
Funny it's funny because when you go back to recording on tape, You know, it's like when you're on the mix board, that's kind of like a performance in itself. It's just like, all right, ready, go. Here, the reverb, here,
Oh
delay,
yeah,
and raise that up or whatever.
oh, that
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like the poor drummers back then. If we were, let's just say that we were recording Gladiator or whatever, and you're 20 seconds from the end of the song, and Curtis screws up, whole thing over again.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's why but to be honest with you, though, we before we ever recorded, like especially the first 4 recordings, we were so studio ready, I mean, because we would rehearse like 6-7 days a week, so
yeah.
so we were prepared. A little nervous the first time because we weren't used to that big, mixing board and just seeing all that stuff for the first time. It's a little overwhelming, but they're such nice people over there at Morrisound. They were so great to us, they really taught us a lot, and they were real friendly the whole time and just kind of helped us along the way. Calm down, because you get nervous and you start overplaying, and your timing gets off because you start thinking, thought process changes once you're in that that atmosphere. So, but once we got relaxed in there with Jim and everything, and Scott Burns was basically he would like change reels and stuff like that before he did anything,
Right, yeah.
But
And they're back in business again. I heard they got the studio open again.
Yeah. Current Nasty Savage just recorded their new album at Morrisound.
Oh, okay. No,
It's a lot of people use them, right?
Yeah.
Morrison,
Back then. Yeah. I don't know how much. I think they do business as much as they want to do business now.
Right.
Back then, everybody recorded there. I mean, because Sabotage recorded their first one there. And then, that's what kind of gave us the idea. And then when we recorded there, then, so you had other bands that weren't out yet, like Death and Morbid Angel and a lot of these other bands, Obituary, and, the list goes on. Then they started recording there. So it's kind of like a chain reaction there. Yeah.
It seems like a lot of people we've talked to, as they've come up, they've used them.
Oh, yeah.
From back in the day.
Florida, all these bands around here that use Morrisound, people would see that, and hear those productions and everything. They wanted to record there. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Jim owes me like a T-shirt or something.
It's funny how you bring up Morbid Angel and Death. And so, you guys, weren't a death metal band, but you guys had such an influence. I know, because I know all those guys, from those bands, and I know how much influence you guys had on them, and in our scene up on the East Coast, in our death metal scene, we were all huge Nasty Savage fans, and, and it's funny because when you go from the first record to Indulgence, there was like a major leap in just the playing and all. It just and it's funny you bring up like Al Di Meola is some of the stuff and the choice of scales and harmonies that you and Ben were doing. It was just like twisted and off timing, because the first record's more straightforward, and the Indulgence is total insanity.
Totally. It's like night and day between those two things. I mean, the first album, which I love it, but because it's the first thing I ever recorded. I mean, like on a budget and everything. Indulgence, just a whole totally different thing. I mean, because after that first album, I wanted to start getting more technical because I was like heavily influenced by Watchtower. I mean, I can't play like those guys because it's just craziness, but I like, every now and then I get in the mood from that. But man, that Billy White, was doing solos back then on that first cassette,
first record,
Energetic Disassembly. I'm like, what planet is this dude from? So that I heard that and I was like, man, I want to start dabbling into, some different harmonies and, kind of just really off time stuff and just, I've always been. I think I'm a good guitar player, but I've never been like a shredder or anything. That's just not me. I try to make a solo that absolutely sounds like me and nobody else. You know, that's always
Yeah.
been my main goal.
And memorable, you know,
Yeah,
that's what's
do
important
those
too,
things
you know.
like the guys in Cannibal Corpse doing shit like that. That's just too much for me. My fingers won't move that quick. You know, no, I do what's in my wheelhouse. You know, and I try to make songs that are written well and arranged well and are memorable and they have, you know, cool solos between Ben and I, and really try to make those harmonies not sound like any other band. That was always my goal. I do not want to sound like anybody else. You know,
of course.
I would get ideas. You know, Watchtower was another one that would help me think out of the box. You know, and create these things. If it wasn't for that band, there's a lot of stuff I would have never even written because of just all that input that they. Because I love them so much. They're the pioneers of progressive metal. I mean, anybody that ever wants to argue with me about that, I'll argue to the death over that right there. It's just amazing what they started. You know,
it's funny. I never connected the Watchtower thing with you guys, you know, but that's interesting.
You can really connect it a little bit more with Penetration Point probably than you can.
Oh, that album's insane. Yeah.
It's got a lot of crazy, you know, starts and lots of kind of bizarro, you know, harmonies and stuff like that.
It's funny you say that about that record because I saw an interview with Ronnie and he was talking about the stuff that you and Ben came up with. He was just like, man, I don't even know, how do I sing to this? You know, it was just so insane, you know? And I mean, it was that progression from you go from Indulgence to Abstract Reality, and then you go to Penetration Point. And I remember, you know, each record I would buy, I would get the day it would come out, and I would put it on. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what the hell is going on? This is insane, you know? And you know, but the thing is, like you were talking about being you guys were so unique, especially, you know, when you go from the first record, which is still got, you know, a lot of the traditional heavy metal elements in there, and then you go to Indulgence, which was such a unique sounding record. Even the production, like you know, Curtis's bass drums, like I never heard kicks like that you know, until that record came out, you know. What you know, it's actually go back a little bit. I'm curious, do you still have that 70 Strat and the Marshall 800?
I know you mean
No.
Oh, no. That thing's long gone. matter of fact, I stripped it down, painted it black, and put a different neck on it, and did all kinds of shit.
Oh, shit.
EMGs,
cool.
you know, the battery powered EMGs. I changed that thing. And I think I sold it to Ben or something. He got rid of it. I don't know where that thing is now. Now, if I had the actual 72 Strat that I actually bought before I did any modifications to it, that's about a $7,000 guitar now.
Oh yeah. That's on my bucket list. One of the 70 Strat. You know, eventually I got to get one. You know, but maybe replace. Did you replace the 3-bolt with the 4-bolt, or did you have originally just the 3-bolt neck?
Yeah, just the 3. And what I would do too, I would modify. I would get tremolos and have them modified, and I will straighten them out so they look like Uli Roth's tremolo, like on the cover of Entrance. If you look at that straight long bar that he's got. So now, like the last Charvel that I got, the first thing I do is take that to work, put it in a vise, and straighten it out like it's because I love Uli Roth so much.
Right. I want to say about the tremolo stuff too, because you guys you know, when you go from the first record to Indulgence, you guys started incorporating like these tremolo parts in the riffs, you know, like for instance, like the instrumental and stuff like that. And so is that coming from Uli a little bit, or?
I'm heavily influenced by that guy. I mean, he is my guitar god, hands down. That's my hero. And I got to see.
I saw him last year, but I didn't have the guts to go up and talk to him.
I saw him up in West Yarmouth. This was on May 1st. And
I saw the photo.
My girlfriend, I flew up there. My girlfriend, Art, she got us VIP gold passes, all this kind of stuff.
Nice.
She got like a double platinum seating where I was literally 5 feet away from him, watching him just absolutely blow my freaking mind. And the dude's 70 years old, and those fingers, he plays just everything so perfectly, and it flows. it was great, and I got to meet him and talk to him, and
Oh, that's
and
cool.
I got a nice picture with him. And then a friend of mine down here I gave him the picture, and he made a 24 by 36 poster out of it. You know,
Oh, wow.
he
Oh,
gave
that's
me
awesome.
a gift. You can see it on my Facebook page. It's like one of the last couple things.
Yeah.
But he put like the Ole John Roth graphic at the bottom of it, and everything's awesome. You know,
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
why-
My wife met him. I never got to meet
Yeah.
him, but I did see him, when I played Vakken last year. He was in the, we're catering, and I saw him, and I saw all the other rock stars going up and punishing him, and I was just like, he's eating. I'm not going to bother him.
Yeah, well, I mean, we actually paid for this
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I had like one-on-one with him. You know,
Yeah.
I was asking him about Tokyo tapes and the Electric Sun
Oh,
stuff and all. He was super cool dude, just laid back.
Yeah. My wife said the same thing. He's super nice. I met Michael Schenker though. I was just like, I saw him and I was like, screw it.
Michael
I'm gonna go up and I got to talk to him.
Schenker's number 2. He's right behind Ole
Yeah.
Roth.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah,
he's
me too, man.
love UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that
so yeah,
night, the night with Ole, just real quick. But that's the best moment guitar wise in my entire life was that night.
wow.
Wow.
Awesome. I had a similar experience a few years back. It was 2019. Me and my wife went to see Jeff Beck, and we had front row seats, and he came out and he just destroyed the place, and it was so inspiring to see him, at his age, just going out and just unbelievable and reinventing himself as he goes along, still, progressing as a
it's
guitar
unreal.
player.
That he's Ole and Schenker are like top 2, but like top 5, I'm Jeff Beck's right in there. Richie Blackmore. I've always loved
Oh,
him.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's so many of them that are great. But Jeff Beck, definitely another guy that's on a completely different level than anybody else is.
Yeah. We have his he threw his towel washing himself. My wife caught it, so we got Jeff Beck's DNA in my house right now. We still have his towel, it's funny, Cool, man. So what are you using now, like as far as guitar wise? What's your rig like?
I like the Charvel San Dimas.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's they're not like a real expensive guitar. They're like $1,100 or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Have the good Floyd Roses on them. I had one of them reset up. The last one that I got was just straight from the factory. I mean, so I ordered it from Sweetwater, but straight from there, it played great right out of the box. But it's just it's hard. I'm 61, so it's like harder for me to. My hands are. I have a physical job at work, so I just found that the Charvel it's just so easier for me to play than it is a Stratocaster.
Right.
It's got that. It's like a D neck, right? And it's real smooth, like powder on the back of it. It feels like the way they rub it down, and it's very user friendly for me. I mean, I love all guitars, but just right now at my age, it's like the perfect guitar for me, and I can stomp on that tremolo and it won't go out of tune. So I like about that. Yeah.
Now,
I think they're nice looking guitars.
have you found yourself dropping in string gauge?
I have dropped the string gauge. With Savage, which this is kind of speaking of just like tuning and stuff like that. I'll throw this in there real quick. I remember before we went into the studio, I was telling the guys and Ben and Fred, I said, I got an idea. Why don't we tune down to D? I said it'll be easier for Ronnie, his range, and it'll sound heavier. And they go, oh no, that's a dumb idea. Then everybody was been doing it ever since then. So we never did it. It was always some weird tuning, 432 or something they use. I don't know what the hell they did that for, but anyways, no, I was playing I now use 9 gauge,
right,
to standard tuning.
Right.
So it's just easier when I'm bending, especially at the very top of the fretboard, bending straight up on the on the E. It's a little bit less brutal on my fingers, than
Yeah, I'm always curious. I'm 57 now, and when you're younger playing, you're like, I wonder if I'll still be able to play in my 50s and 60s. But God, like you said earlier, there's guys playing in their 70s and still playing
Yeah.
like crazy. But I
I've,
am at
and
coming through my shop, I notice people are going from heavier strings down to tens, then
yeah.
hybrid, and
Oh
it,
yeah, there's different tunings and stuff like that.
yeah,
I've just always been a straightforward dude. I just
right,
it's probably because I'm too lazy to figure anything out, and I just rather keep it the way that it is.
yeah, yeah,
But like speaking of gauges, a lot of people don't know this, and anybody that plays guitar knows Stevie Ray Vaughan is brutal on when he's
yeah,
playing the blues.
yeah,
12
High
gauge,
action too. He used.
12
Yeah.
gauge,
Yeah.
string.
Yeah.
He must have the strongest fingers on the planet because he
yeah,
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
the shit out of them too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I heard he preferred his action high too.
Yeah.
So he's playing, what, standard tuning,
Yeah.
12 gauge strings, high action. And the
That's
guy
my
played
worst
perfect,
nightmare right there.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but if that's what he started on, that's what he knows, and that's what he's comfortable with. So yeah,
Yeah.
that always blew my mind.
Well, I use 13s, and I've been using them
Yeah.
for like almost 30 years. So
What do you tune?
I'm just used to it now.
What do you tune?
C,
To?
C standard,
Oh God.
C. Yeah.
C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
C standard. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Yeah.
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 I tell you what, I had a customer do this and I played it. It was on a Strat, put 11s on it. Actually, the Papa Hets, the James Hetfield strings, I put those on my Strat and put it in E flat. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I thought it would be too much. I mean, my fingers felt it the next day after I played it the first day, but I kind of like it. I kept them on there actually.
Get to DNA,
Yeah.
and first I want to thank you for sending me some of the tracks to check out. And man, it's just amazing. And the guitar playing and the songwriting, and just from hearing just these rough tracks, it's
Yeah.
man, I'm super excited to hear this
Yeah, me
record.
too.
And
Yeah, I'm
you know,
really
you know,
excited. It's just, we've been working on it for a while, and yeah, I want to thank Greg Gall Greg Gall. If you don't know him, he played on like the first six feet under
6 feet
records.
under.
And a lot of people don't know this about Greg. When Greg was doing those albums, Greg wanted to do more things, but Chris Barnes wouldn't allow him to do more things. So he had to dumb his drumming down. So you can tell by this, especially if you listen to Synthetic Thought, one of the ones that I sent you. Yeah, he's doing some just great stuff on there. So
tasteful playing. Yeah, really tasteful.
And then Scott Carina did the bass, doing the bass tracks, and he toured with Death, like on the Human record, I think, on that tour part of that. I played with them for a little bit. Then he was in Savage from 2016 to 2023. We did a bunch of shows together before I left. And then Jason McMaster, the singer for Watchtower and Dangerous Toys, and fills in for Armored Saint, fills in for Accept. The dude's So when I first decided to do this, he sent me a message. He goes, "Please let me do vocals on this." I'm like, "Hell yeah!" I loved him anyway. So he brings like a unique style. It's like I get to write songs, and Jason McMaster from Watchtower, who I loved in the early 80s, is doing vocals on my project. So I'm happy as shit.
Wow.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm real excited about it. And we got, once we get those 3 done, he's got the vocals done, tracks done on 2 now. So he has to do it within his time frame. And plus, I work 45 hours a week. It's easy for people to say, "Oh, when are you going to hurry up and come out with it?" There's only so much time in a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not in any rush anyway. I'm not going to rush this thing out. We're not going to make any money off of it. It's really for people to hopefully they enjoy the stuff that I'm coming up with now. As opposed to 20 years ago on Psycho Psycho was the last thing that I recorded and released was anything from that album. So it's all coming together good. And once he gets those 3 done, then I have like half of an instrumental written. Then I'm going to finish that, and I'm kind of I want to do some like 12 string stuff in it and kind of just blast them with some heavy stuff, like right after the acoustic parts. I got a lot of ideas I want to do, but I just want those vocals done first. It's like I'm weird like that. It's kind of like they're cobwebs. I don't like to have a bunch of little fires everywhere. I want everything to be put out. Then I can focus on getting that instrumental done, and then we'll see if we can get some distribution or get on a small label or whatever, and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great stuff, man. So I know I'm sure somebody's going to put it out.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we have a song on there called Synthetic Thought. Almost reminds me, it's the one that me and Ben Meyer do, the trade-off,
Yeah.
I asked Ben, said, hey, come over here and do some solos. He goes, yeah, I'll do it. So he came over to the house and we did that little trade-off, and that came out really nice. And that song kind of reminds me of something that could have been on Abstract Reality to me. It just something about the rhythms in the background during the solos. Kind of reminds me of something that would be on that. So I was real happy for Ben to do that. It was fun. I think it's like some little nostalgia for the old fans to have us kind of do some solos again. Recorded. So that was really cool. So we'll finish this up and then we'll get it out and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Now, are you recording with Don? Don Tardy's doing? Is you recording with him? Is he doing?
Actually, Greg recorded the drums at the Obituary studio.
Okay.
So he used Donald's acoustic kit over there and did all the drums on it at the Obituary, and then Jason McMaster's doing all his vocals in Texas, and I did all the guitars and the bass guitars over here in Tampa. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But,
and what's the rig you're using? What's the guitar the guitar rig you're using for the rhythm tracks?
Oh, what I used for the rhythm tracks?
Yeah.
I used part of it was Guitar Rig 5, which was a plug-in. So I didn't mic anything up. Just straight straight into the Focusrite interface. And then
sounds great.
Picked my plugins and just all the solos. I used that and Amplitude 5. Used kind of mix some things together. Because I have so many of them, I just kind of blend some. Maybe a nice rhythm sound from Guitar Rig and a nice one from Amplitude and a nice one from like the little kidney pod type thing to add a little brightness and just kind of blended them all together. So I thought it came out pretty good. It's not. Would I've rather been in the studio blasting through an amplifier probably, but I'm paying
whatever works
myself.
Yeah, so, it sounds great. It sounds really warm. It's I wouldn't have guessed it's a plug-in. It sounds
all
really warm.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on with the DNA thing. If it's well received and we get some good distribution or something, and if I think it's worthwhile, it's not that I don't want to record anything else. I enjoy playing, but it's a lot of work. Obviously, a lot of work.
Absolutely.
And it takes up a lot of time and it can be frustrating. And when you have to, when you're working 8, 9, 10 hours a day and, just life in general, it's not, I'm 22 years old anymore. When I was 23, that's what I was doing for a living, was recording and going on tour. So, you have all that time. That's your job. Now you have so many things to do. It just makes it more difficult, I'm not bitching about it or anything. I'm just saying
it just is what it is. It's life.
Yeah. Is this something you've been thinking about for a long time to do a solo record?
Yeah. When we got the last show that I did with Savage was Mexico City, and this was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. I knew we didn't have anything booked. So for the next 6 months anyway, I knew there wasn't anything on the horizon as far as us flying anywhere and doing any shows. And I'm like, I was just tired of it, to be honest with you. I've been doing it for so long, off and on.
Oh, I know.
And I've been wanting to do my whole own thing for a long time, and I never have, and I knew this was the perfect. It would give them time to replace me and move on. It's not like I didn't bail on them when there was a show coming up. Matter of fact, I told them that their guitar player, Dave Norman, that they got to replace me. So if something happens and he can't do a show, I said, call me up. I said, I'll go do a show with you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
If you need me
Oh,
to come back and fill in or whatever. But no, just it was. We were really. We were gonna do some new. Because I was gonna do some new stuff with Savage before I left. Just one hurdle kept coming up after another, whether it was taking forever to get the vocals done or if it was taking forever to get this done. And, then we got a show coming up that we got to rehearse for, and it were the same songs, which that's fine. But it's just, when you fly all the way to Mexico City, then you get there and you do a show. Your plane leaves at 5 a.m. You got to be at the airport at 2:30.
I know it, man.
And you come back with a couple $100 in your pocket. It's like, no, I'm done with it. I'm done. Y'all have. So they got another guy. They moved on. They're recording. I think their album comes out in like October. I think October 4th.
So did you have anything to do with any of the writing on this new record that they're doing? Or?
No, there's 2 that were going to be on there before I left that I took with me. So that are on this project that I got right now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all brand new stuff. I've heard some of it, like bits and pieces of it. It's good. It doesn't sound like Nasty Savage because it's impossible to do without me and Ben.
Yeah, well, you and Ben, the guys were the
it's good stuff. I'm happy for them. More power to them. There was never any kind of bad blood or anything like that. We're the same. Me and Ronnie are just as good as friends as we've ever been.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, me and him not long ago ate breakfast together at the First Watch over here in Tampa. Just a few weeks ago, and I'll let him listen to some of my stuff, and I'll listen to some of the new Savage stuff in the car.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good that everybody's still getting along.
Oh, everybody.
I mean, life just goes different directions, right?
Yeah, it does. It does.
I can relate. I've been doing this a long time, and I love being on stage, but point A to point B, it's just, man,
it's hard.
Airports, not sleeping, like you said. It's just like, I did a tour a few years ago in Asia, and I think we took like 21 flights in 3 weeks. So it was basically play the gig. Oh yeah, man, I don't even know how I did it.
No way.
But we're getting older. It's like like you said, nobody's in their 20s anymore. It's just the body just ain't there.
It's nice to have to take back a memory and then kind of like another notch on the guitar. That you went to Asia and those kind of things. Which I never went to Asia. I wish we would have been able. We were actually going to play in Japan and they got shut down right before COVID came. So that never happened. But it's nice to have those memories to bring back with you. But when you just said 21 flights, hell, you don't even remember all that shit. You know what I mean? You remember all the pain in the ass it was. Take back those memories when you're there you get there and you're playing the show that night and you're leaving the next day. You barely even get a chance to even get the local food that's there.
Yeah. So I want to go back a little bit, and first time I saw you guys was I think it was 1989 with DRI at Trocadero in Philadelphia. You remember that show by any chance, or Trocadero? Was the Trocadero in Philadelphia with DRI?
I absolutely remember that. And here's the reason why I remember that show so vividly. Because when we were finished, we got our 2 cases of beer or whatever it is we got after the gig, and I don't know, $300 or $400 or whatever it is we got paid. And I took my suitcase out of the van and put the beer in there and left my suitcase on the sidewalk. And we went off to the next city, suitcase and no more. So I wore the same jeans 5 shows in a row. We did 60 shows in 65 days on that tour.
Dang,
so we were playing every night of the week almost. Yeah, so somebody get my suitcase. I had my old Late Night with David Letterman sweatshirt in it and everything. some shirts, probably some pretty cool shirts. And yeah, I didn't ever even realize it was gone until we even got to the next city and it never turned up. But as far as like being in the building, I have zero recollection of like the actual playing there. Did we do okay?
Yeah, I remember the show. I thought you guys were great. You're phenomenal, you know. Yeah, I mean, was that actually like your first tour? Because I know you guys came up to L'Amour's a couple times, maybe in '85, and you
That
played
was
like
our
with
first
Megadeth.
tour where we did that many shows. Our first
Yeah,
tour was
yeah.
in '85 with Hallows Eve, where we did like
Okay. Oh, Halloween Eve. All right. Yeah, yeah,
Hallows
yeah.
Eve, where we did an East Coast thing, and then we went up into Canada and did the World War III festival. And then
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
that's the one. Yeah, that's and we
Voivod and
played
Celtic Frost.
player on Halloween's tour. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, old school. And yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We didn't do a ton of shows. We did probably like 15, 16, something like that on that
Yeah.
one. We did like a Midwest thing in '86. Went back to Texas. And in '87 we did some more Midwest shows, and then '88 we went down to South America for the first time. Did some some shows down there, and then '89 we had the DRI tour, which I don't even know how I survived that tour. Yeah, we were sick. It was in the middle of winter time. Playing in Duluth, Minnesota. It's 10 below zero outside when you're loading your equipment. You walk out, you can just see the steam coming off your head. So cold outside, you're sweating from the inside of the inside of the venue.
Yeah.
We put 22,000 miles on our van on that tour.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, I know it. Trust me. I know the pain.
Up in the ceiling of the van because it's leaking. We got cold water dripping on our face while we're trying to sleep. We paid big time.
Wow.
That's the glamorous lifestyle.
What's that?
I wasn't aware that.
No,
I wasn't aware of the
glamorous rock star lifestyle.
Yeah, living the dream, right?
Oh yeah, living the dream. Yeah. Every now and then you get those handful of shows. Like when we went to Europe, we were on a tour bus. It was like living the luxury life. Matter of fact, it's like Def Leppard just had the tour bus that we got.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we got the nice tour bus. Of course, we didn't make shit, because all the money got tied into tour buses, hotels, and it's whatever. Because somebody made money because every show that we did on that tour was sold out. Every single one of them. And one of them was in front of 10,000 people. And Canada.
Was that the Poland show?
Yeah, the
Poland. Yeah. I remember seeing the video.
We came back with a few shirts and maybe $50.
Yeah.
How the hell does that happen?
It's crazy to hear the history of Nasty Savage because like these stories and I always was kind of blown away that you guys never blew up like the other bands at the time because I always thought you guys were a step ahead of everybody. And
I can sum up that what you just said in 2 words: poor management.
Very
poorly managed, and we were green and didn't know what we were doing. So that was the problem. Inexperience. And Curtis Beeson's father was our manager, and it was horrible. So he taught instead of like signing like a 4-year deal or like a 3 or 4 album deal with Metal Blade, he would have us sign one album deals at a time. So the problem was, why is Metal Blade going to put us on a bunch of tours and support us if we might be gone the next album? Why do that? So we should have signed like a multi-album deal with them right off the bat. If we would have signed like a 3 or 4 album deal with Metal Blade at the very beginning, the whole history would be changed right now. I can promise you. Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. That was a huge mistake.
I was always just kind of, blown away that never, you guys, like I said, you guys never blew up. And, you compare yourself to all these other bands at the time. You guys were just, like I said, a step ahead of the songwriting, the musicianship, and the production of the records were always top notch, and yeah, it's crazy, and yeah, like you said, poor management. It's just,
I summed it up.
yeah, and I've been in the business a long time, and and it's took a long time for even my band to even get to the level that we're at, and not making money for years and finally starting to make money, but it's just the connections that you make, it's the people that you work with, and
Yeah.
that's really what really makes a difference. You can have the best songs in the world, but if you don't have the right connections, it's just
Right.
not gonna.
But when
You know.
when you're playing in front of that many people, and God knows somebody's making money, and like you said, somebody made money. Like, who is it? Is it the record company? Is it managers? Is it
Who
the
knows?
venue? Right.
I can imagine. Well, Tony, who Abaddon, drummer for Venom, was our tour manager.
Oh,
Yeah, so I know, I know people. Tony Dolan, who is
Yeah.
fronting Venom Incorporated right now.
Right.
He was
Yeah.
in the band Adam Craft that was on that European tour with us in Exumer. So
Right.
me and him have chatted since then, and he knows now that Tony, from Venom, was just completely fucking us over. Totally. He was making like $1,200 a week as the tour manager. We were begging for a per diem so we could get something to eat. You know what I mean? And we're sitting there drawing all the freaking people to these shows,
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't know what to do. It's like, what do we do? I mean,
Right.
tell them we want to go home. I mean, we did, it's just like you're young and stupid about that shit, about the business end of it. You just don't know, and you just get run over, by people that, that unfortunately if that's everything that, that Tony Dolan's told me, there's just a lot of no scruples there,
Right.
that shit will come back and bite you on the ass, down the road.
Yeah.
But,
Mhm.
it's not. We weren't really happy with Brian Slagle that much. There's a lot of things, at the time. But like I said, we just didn't know the business end of it. We were naive to all of that, and that was real. That's another big part of the reason why we didn't progress and get bigger. Because of that.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
See, I always wonder, and I didn't know if it was a particular person. I always think it's like the ticket companies doing it. Just as a concert goer, you can see. And Alex, I told you about that. I wanted to go see Kix's last show last year, and I know what the rest of the shows were getting. And then I think the last show, what were the tickets going for, like $1,200 or something like that? It's crazy.
Oh,
That was up in Maryland, so. I figured it was the venues or the ticket companies or whoever.
the artist is the last one to get paid.
It seems like it, and that's something that if you're me, like Joe Schmo, you don't realize that. Like you figure it's like the lap of luxury if you're a touring musician,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it seems like everybody along the way has their hands in your pocket.
Oh, as a matter of fact, the very last show that I did with Savage in Mexico City, it's like the guy was supposed to pay us like a month before we ever even flew over there. Well, half of it, and then you get the other half when we get there. That's the way we would do it. If we don't get the other half when we get there, might as well send us back home because we're not playing. So this guy was freaking out. He didn't have the money, and we're like, oh God, here we are in Mexico City. The guy doesn't have the rest of the money that he's going to pay us. Our flights were fucked up. Just that kind of thing. It's like I do not have the patience for that anymore.
Sure.
I'm not like some old asshole fart. That guy. But I don't have time for that. Let's go to the room. I need professional. I need a guy to show us where to go. Who's taking us where? Where's the back line? It's like all these venues that we play probably the last 15 shows that we've done over the last 5 or 6 years, or before I left. It's like you get there, there's nothing backstage. You have to ask 10 people to get water, that kind of shit. That's bullshit right there. Because you're not making a lot of money. I know unless you're big time and you're drawing 2,500 on your own, your own bands drawing that many people, yeah, then you can make some money, especially on merchandise and things like that.
Right.
But if you're playing, festivals where there's a couple thousand people there and there's, 20 bands, you can do the math and kind of figure it out that nobody's getting rich. It's just it's for the enjoyment of playing. And I was really enjoying it. It's just you just get in those scenarios. It's like, oh my God, I'm having people text me at 3 a.m. about, flights or something like that. And at the time, the last 7 years that I was in Nasty Savage, I was handling all of that. I was handling the back line. I was handling, the rider. I was handling, communicating with the promoter about the flights and all that kind of stuff when we're getting the money and just doing all of that. And it's, when you're doing all that, it's hard to concentrate on the show. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so much easier. I don't know, Alex. Do you ever use it? Are you your own guitar tech or do you bring a guitar tech with you?
It depends. Sometimes we have a tech, and it depends on the money. What's in the budget. So
isn't it wonderful when you have a guitar tech? And
I love it. Yeah. Hands it to you during sound check and
volume up.
Right.
That's how all the flights and all that crap. It was I couldn't. Too much shit going on in my head and worried about a show at the same time. So
Alex, wouldn't it be nice if you knew a retired firefighter that just could go anywhere?
I know. I don't know if I can afford you, Roger.
Guitars, learn on guitars, and he could punish you between shows, like be a punisher nonstop.
Hey, Alex, how long have you been in Immolation?
It was 10 years now, but we've been friends for 36 years since my old band and started
Greg, he wasn't sure because Greg was like, I don't remember Alex because Immolation toured with 6 Feet Under back in the day. So that was Tom Wilkinson on that tour. Yeah, he's the original guitar player, but I've actually met Greg before. Oh, okay.
He's Barry's brother-in-law, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have met Greg before. He may not remember. I guess, just fill us in on the, when you think the DNA record will be done. And like I said, I'm super excited about it because, this is, the songs you sent me, I'm pretty blown away by it. And it sounds like kind of a little bit wider scope, than Nasty Savage. Like you have a little bit more room to do some more stuff, to express yourself.
Especially the one that's the first one I sent you is like it's almost 7 minutes long. So it's got kind of like some different little sections in it, kind of builds to the end, And then the other one I sent you, Synthetic Thoughts, a little more straightforward, a little more savagey, I think, than the other song. And then the other one, which is it's just a working title called Sabotage. I call it that because the beginning of it's like, and it kind of reminds me of Sabotage. So I just called that as a working title, that song.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I wish I'd love to be able to just like have a date on here of when the thing's going to be done, but I just don't know. It's just one of those that we're taking 1 week at a time. When the biggest hurdle, we'll be getting Jason to, depending on his time frame and schedule, to get this last song in the bag. So he's going to be 3 songs with vocals, 1 instrumental. We'll release it as just an EP, and then because I was thinking about a full thing, but I'm like, do I really want to just do 10 songs and then, and then nobody ever buys it, or whatever. It's just, I didn't want to put all that work into it. Test the waters with us. If it does good, start writing some more songs, But, But I appreciate you guys having me on the show. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being on.
Man, I can't wait to hear the finished product. And if you want to hang a second, we'll let you know when this is going to air and all.
Absolutely.
But thank you for coming on, David. Like I said, it's a real honor to have you on. And
I appreciate it.
Like I said, you're a big influence on me. Your guitar playing, your songwriting. Still to this day, I put on those records and they inspire me, to pick up the guitar.
That's awesome, right? That really.
Thank you so much.
It really does. And nice meeting you, Roger.
Yeah, it was great meeting you too. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I got one of your guitar picks, by the way, Alex.